Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Who's got the chips out? Who's eating chips?
Not me.
Own up. Someone's eating bloody chips. Right in the middle of the intro. Unbelievable, donkey. It's you, isn't it? Unbelievable.
I tried to move
I specifically didn't put ice in my bourbon tonight just to avoid that very thing.
Oh, and he's actually disappeared. He got so ashamed.
I could have had ice in my drink. I'm still one for the team.
What were they Doritos or what were we talking here? What was so special?
We've got the Red Rock jelly salt chips. So my defence, I just got back from community from 2 days that was dry and not a lot going on. So I was just a bit anyway.
Unacceptable. But anyway, welcome to the highly professional CrowCast, Tuesday Night Live, brought to you this week by Red Rock Chips. Welcome to everyone on the chat, PJ and DSG and Vardy and PJ Crows. Good to see you guys along, and lots to talk about tonight, so let's get straight into it with a bit of Crows news. What do we got? Injury news first up. Hey, all right, injury news first up.
Injury news. I'll jump in there. Look, the release today that Matt Crouch, probably the most significant news of the day, was Matt Crouch with his 3-week hamstring. So, a little surprise to me. Hamstrings, normally a month, but I guess they seem fairly optimistic with that one.
Macca, excuse me, Pete, but I have to play this just for Macca's benefit. Macca, next time you see Nikki, you have to play this song again. I do believe that you said 3 weeks, and Nikki fought you every step of the way, Macca, and there it is in black and white.
Yes, she did.
3 weeks?
She said, nope, there's quite often they just ping him and there's no time off at all. You can't tell now, no. I said, for fuck's sake, he's got ice on him. He's icing up.
So that was probably one of the most significant Matt Crouch. Then we've got, obviously, Dave McKay will have a test in relation to the concussion. And Rory Sloane is also listed as a test. So they're probably the three big ones for this weekend. Tom Lynch, a little bit of scuttlebutt about that he won't come up either.
They reckon he trained well.
Is that right? So last I heard that he may not come up this week as well, but that could well be wrong. So
conflicting rumours on that one.
Yeah.
One school, some people are saying no, he won't. And others are saying he definitely will. So who do you believe?
The other really big news, great news that came out of today was Tom Duday with his Rising Star nomination. I was really looking forward to watching him play on Thursday Night Live for the first time, and didn't disappoint. He was brilliant.
Can
very
I just
cool
say something about that?
Yeah.
Coaches, ALCPA, whatever the hell it is, coaches' votes. Not one mention of Tom Duday. Not one mention. Rory Sloane got 4 votes.
Yeah, look.
Josh got 7.
Let's talk about. Let's just give Tom his credit because he's a Rising Star nomination. 25 possessions, had a great game back there. I thought he was really impressive.
So did I. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
So congratulations to him. Coaches' votes different again. So if we look at the coaches' votes, Rory Laird got a perfect 10. Hard to take that away from him. Dustin Martin obviously had a great game, 5 goals, number of possessions. I thought Slaney had a pretty good game myself. Yeah. I mean, there's only so many coaches' votes to go around. And
I would have had...
Was Duday in the best sort of 5 or 6 on the ground?
I reckon for a 4-quarter effort, I reckon he was... I reckon Huey Greenwood's probably a bit lucky.
Oh, he was my best. I had him best on ground. Or best for Adelaide.
Oh, really?
Very big influence on the game.
Yeah, when it was hot, Fiend, he was unbelievable.
No doubt. But Tommy Duday put in a solid defender's 4-quarter effort. He beat all comers. He beat Dusty Martin a couple of times. And he
had a terrific game.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon him and Lairdy were probably our, and maybe Bryce Gibbs were probably the only 3 that gave us 4 quarters. Jenkins gave us a half. Really, I'm surprised he got 7.
Yeah, but Pete, the problem is there's only a certain number of spots, and and then it becomes relative judgment how you see it. And look, you might well be right, and others wrong, but others might be.
No.
The other,
I should have started with that premise. Know that you're never wrong.
No, I'm never right. Just look at my
The other bit of
tips.
news that's been floating around is that the Damien Hardwick affair. That doesn't seem to want to go away. I think the gentleman involved is being called a coward and all sorts of things now. And,
Who's been called a coward? Who's been called a coward?
Pete, there's another step further than that, though. It's come out what he actually said. All he said was... all he said was about the MCG. It was pathetic. Yeah, and Eddie shot his mouth off without knowing what was actually said. So,
well, he was talking about the fact that that there needs to be protection for the coaches, particularly in Adelaide. I mean,
come on.
It was just a pathetic effort to try and stir, fan the flames of the rivalry. It was really piss weak from Eddie.
Because since the initial attack on the Crows by the Eddie and a couple of other commentators, there are other commentators that said now that Hardwick ought to stiffen up and get a bit of a backbone because the comment was very, very mild and really he had no right to react as he did.
Well, Hardwick should be censured, in my opinion. He should have been fined for actually responding because that's inciting the crowd. As you say, as everyone says, it was a mild comment at best.
Yeah, it was the harmless sledge. Hardwick overreacted and showed us all that classic Richmond victim mentality and has a bit of a sook about it and then sort of blames everyone else. I mean, it was an inane comment. And if you're a coach of a football side getting paid on $1 million contracts, like if you can't cope with that, then what are you really doing?
It's round 2 after they've just won a flag, for goodness sakes. I mean, settle down, Damien. Seriously. Anyway.
Yeah, I think he expected to win, and I think he was actually acting like a prima donna in the box all night. I thought.
Yeah,
well, it was a very, very simple matter of just turning around and saying, "Yeah, it is harder here. That's why I'm glad we played the grand final of the MCG, so we win." Yeah. I mean, that's all he had to say.
Well, he didn't have to say anything really. I mean, the guy wasn't in his face. He was in his place at his seat, and he just called something out. I'm surprised that Hardwick even heard it. But he must have been.
He was past him and he walked back to it.
That's the thing. I mean, it's just ultra sensitive, and I'm actually amazed that Gillen didn't come down and give him a fine. To be honest,
I probably would have if it wasn't Richmond, but Richmond sort of get a pat in the back. And how you going?
If it was Tex Walker having to go at someone in the Melbourne crowd at the MCG, you can bet he would have been sanctioned.
Yeah, God help us. It would have been us.
Absolutely.
On a good note, though, it was good to see that Caddy got a game for that roundhouse little sneaky punch he had to give Sloaney.
Come on, Macca. Come on, Macca.
It was pretty accidental. And actually, I must say, being at the ground on Thursday night, I was very impressed to see after the game that both Caddy and Basher Hooley sought out Dave McCann, the bench, and had a chat to him and just generally showed a bit of care. And I thought that was a pretty good effort from both of them, actually.
Yeah, but Cad's not. If you watch, I've watched most of the games, and Caddy is pretty reckless with his hands.
We didn't watch the game, Macca, so I'll have to take your word.
I know you don't.
Didn't think it was malicious. I really didn't think it was malicious. When I saw it on replay, I saw it 2 or 3 times in replay, and really didn't think it was malicious. But he got the game that he probably deserved, and we will move on.
Well, I'm going to actually throw that out to Twitter while we're carrying on tonight. So look out if you're on Twitter. Look out for a poll whether you thought Caddy deserved a week or not.
And if you put the rider in front of it, given that our chap got a game for absolutely stuff all.
No, 2 separate. Paddy Ryder wasn't playing.
Let's move on. Sicily, I was very glad to see the atomic drop with his knee on the back of the player's head. That was just out of Selwood's head. That was just right out of order, that was. He got a game.
Someone on Twitter actually earlier asked me whether we needed to talk about the fact that Fogarty got a fine for his late impact, and yet Alex Rance didn't even get a 50-metre against him when he cannoned into Fogarty's back.
I thought they were 2 separate incidents in the sense that there was a much more significant delay between the Fogarty hit and the Rance hit was in the play, whereas the Fogarty hit, it was right in front of me. He ran quite a way to make that hit.
Yeah, good on him too.
Absolutely unnecessary.
And
good on him.
I'm
not having a go. He's throwing it about, and good luck to him. But I wasn't surprised to see him get a fine for that.
He's certainly not easily intimidated, is he?
No. Did you guys see I posted a little gift on the main board where he's sort of laughing and has this big devilish smile on his face after Rance hits him, like he's just gone, come in, spinner.
He's a good lad, Fogs. What else have we got going on? Crickets.
I think I've offered a fair bit there.
Yeah, you have offered a fair bit there, Pete. You've done very well. I'm impressed. What do you got, Macca?
You're talking about cricket?
No. Well, not really. Nothing.
Don't get me started on that, for God's sake.
Nothing extra with the Crows, but there were a couple of bad injuries on the weekend. I don't know whether you saw the young lad from Collingwood, Brownhead.
Terrible.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah, very, very nasty. And in the GWS's game, poor old Tom Scully got his leg caught behind him and his ankle just twisted. And you could see his leg going one way and his ankle going the other way. That wasn't too nice to see either. So, bad luck for both those lads. And Scully will be out for 3 months, and I would say that Broomhead he'd be lucky to play again this year.
I don't think we'll see Broomhead again this year. That was pretty nasty.
So, sympathies to both those lads, because it's a hard game. It's a hard time for young lads. Not necessarily Scully, but for Broomhead, he's been battling to get into the side, and then when that happens, when he's really all he's trying to do is help his team get a goal. So
it was such a strange bloody incident too, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah,
I've never seen one like it before.
Yeah, it was weird. Just kind of let his leg hang out there as the goalpost was about to split him in half. It was very odd.
It was actually the ball was actually sort of dribbling towards the point, and I think he was trying to hook it back in for a goal. But unfortunately, he didn't realise where the post was.
No, some surprising results on the weekend too. We might as well slot that into the news. I mean, we'll segue into competitions in a minute.
2 out of 9.
Yeah, I know. Unbelievable.
I thought it was a champion.
I picked Freo and GWS, and that was it.
Yeah, I didn't pick us, unfortunately, either. Never mind.
In a big way, I think, with the tipping. I reckon I got half one right, except for outside of the Crows.
Yeah, so interesting around. We may as well take it in, unless anyone's got any more news. Let's go into a competition show. Oh, Donkey, you got late break?
I was going to say, I don't know whether it's about news, but just a bit of commentary on the weekend. I really thought that Tex showed us what sort of leader he is on Thursday night. The world was crumbling. I mean, it's been nearly a week since it happened, but the world was crumbling and everyone was against us. Heading into Richmond, I wasn't confident, and I'm pretty much confident in every game we play. I thought the tide was going to go out, and I thought maybe our season would be derailed. And you could just tell from the opening minute he was going to make sure he was inserting himself into play. He was taking marks, busting through packs, looking for the opportunity to kick goals and hand off. I thought that if you were ever looking for a statement game from a player who's been under the pump, I reckon that was it from Tex.
I tell you what, I reckon, quite honestly, given all of the circumstances, if you take into account all of the circumstances, injuries, pressure from outside, the opponent, all of those things mixed in, it was one of the great home and away wins that this club's ever had. And I don't say that lightly. It really was.
Can't argue with you. I think it really was a win against the odds.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We found some internal steel, and we won tough and ugly, and it wasn't one of those blowout wins that we're used to. I think I'm sure someone's done the numbers on this, but our win and losses are usually we either lose by a fair margin or win by a fair margin. There's not usually those grind out sort of even 20, 30 point wins, and we just kept pushing ourselves. And when Matt Crouch went down, I was like, well, my multi's over for the weekend. That was it.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't just the injuries that we had before the game. It was the loss of rotations during the game. Yeah, lots of key players. And Talia off for a while, Sloan off for a while. They were both on one leg. McKay, last quarter, we're down 2 rotations.
Yep.
Yeah, these boys, they really did dig deep, and that's what you had to be proud of their efforts.
Well, and the boys to be proud of are the two young lads that stood up. I mean, we've mentioned Greenwood already, but I thought Ellis Yeoman was fantastic. You know, he made one or two blues, but really very solid. And I maintain that if the lad can get a run of games and his confidence lifts. He's a very valuable player to have running through that midfield with his big body, and he can obviously go up forward, take a mark, kick a goal as well. And we got blokes coming back in, but either Greenwood or Ellis Yeoman certainly deserve their spot at the moment, and they were instrumental on Thursday night.
Fiend, honestly, that first half, the pair of them were unbelievable. I was sitting at ground level, only a couple of rows up in the Western Stand, and there were a few stoppages around my area. They looked mammoth. Cam and Hugh just stood out as being really, really big bodies, to the naked eye. Some stoppages that were quite close to me. They just look huge out there, huge.
Well, Ellis Yeoman went to the US, I think, he went with Huey Greenwood a couple of years ago, didn't he? And they did a whole bunch of training together, and then I wondered whether, with having the year off with the ACL, whether Ellis Yeoman would lose some of that conditioning, but he bloody hasn't. He's a man mountain, and Huey Greenwood is really, he's building an AFL footballer's body now. He's no longer that sleek basketballer build. He's getting some real breadth across the shoulders, and his hands in close are just sublime.
Yeah,
unbelievable. The thing that Cam really gave us too. Sorry, Don. Last thing I'll say, but the thing that I was really, really impressed with Ellis Yeoman too was the marking that he gave us. He gave us 8 marks. Yep. 8 marks on the weekend. And big marks along the wing and around the centre area, just to create stop plays and to reset us. And we haven't had that since Dangerfield, really.
No, that's right.
A midfielder that takes big marks around the ground. 8 marks was the second highest for any player.
Yep.
So it was a tremendous effort from Cam.
The other thing about Greenwood is he's got sticky hands for a start, but he's also got unusual arms. I think he's about 6 inches longer in the arm than he should be for his height, and he just reaches for balls that you don't expect he can get anywhere near. Even at ground level, and it just amazed me. And then once he does get in those hands, he just fires it out. He could operate in tight like in Pendlebury, and it's obviously. The basketball background just educates these players to keep their cool when everything's tight around them.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, and it sent me to the basketball brain thing, Macca, was there was one time where he does this really good sort of wraparound move where he sort of steps in and he kind of uses a pivot foot and sort of whips his body around, which is just a little bit differently the way footy players do it.
It's called blind turn, donkey. Come on. We all learnt blind turns when we were kids.
Well, this is done with a bit of finesse, and I've seen a few blind turns in my life. I don't
mean blind drunk turn.
This isn't you rocking up in the forward pocket for Masters, mate. This is a sleek manoeuvre.
Come on, mate. First game this week. Bring your cameras.
Okay, just one thing I want to mention about Huey Greenwood as well is that there is some intangibles that he brings as well. He is, and I tweeted this just after the game, he is getting up there into that kind of real heart and soul of the team kind of category because I think it was the third quarter when he stepped around and kicked his goal in the third quarter. They came from everywhere.
Didn't they?
He really, really pumps that side up. And there's a lot of love out there for Hugh Greenwood. From the rest of the players, and he brings some real intangible spirit.
And if you think you go back about a year, this show made him. We made him. He came on for an interview. The belief and the faith we passed on to him, the boy he just had to make it.
I think that's true, and I wouldn't mind betting that he acknowledges that at some point. We'll have to tweet him and see if we get a response. But
I think it's worthy of a tweet.
Well, look, he's on the list for 18 months. Within 2 months of coming on this show, he's picked. Now look, the rest is history.
Now, PJ Crows on chat has asked me, what I thought of JJ's game. Now, we obviously, PJ Crows didn't listen to the rap, so I should boot him out of the chat right now, but notwithstanding, I felt it was a game of two halves for JJ. I felt like his first half was probably as good as we're going to see Josh play, and I felt like the ball was coming in such a manner that was favouring him, but he was also making good positions. But third quarter, he went back to that one hand up in marking contests and being pushed too easily out of contested situations. So it was great to see him play well. Don't get me wrong, and I think you'd take a game like that from Jenkins every week.
Especially on Rance. It's just killed him.
But Rance isn't a good one-on-one player. I think we all accept that now. Rance got all his ball. I mean, he ended up with 8 marks or 7 marks or something. He took 5 marks in the third quarter when he was playing on bloody Darcy Fogarty.
True.
Sure. I think you've been a bit harsh on him. I think I don't remember wincing when he squibbed a contest like I've done probably even in the week before against Essendon and all the JTL series. I'm a big critic of Jenkins for not putting his body in and not making it look like he even cares about the contest, and that's not something I could throw at him the other night. And he was another one. There was a lot going on about whether he should be in the side, and he stood up the other night. So I'm willing to slay him when they deserve it, but I think he actually deserves a pat in the back and a bit of a gold star after last week.
I think, speaking of gold stars, I think we should give me a gold star as well, because I sat here last Tuesday night, and amidst all this conversation about, we should put JJ on the wing, or perhaps get him running off half back, or I said, look, you're on a 4-year deal with $500,000 a year to kick goals, so just stand in the square and bloody go back to what you can do and kick goals, and he did, and so I was very, very pleased to see it.
That's for you, Pete. That's for you, mate.
Thank you.
Oh, look, you're right. I mean, that's what we employ him to do. That's what he needs to be doing. But you tear your hair out after a while trying to get him involved in the game. And so I guess we can't complain. But as Morley, I think, put in the chat, the litmus test is whether he can bring it every week. Because that's what he needs to bring it as a minimum every week. The last bloke, I guess... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I was worried he wasn't going to be able to bring it again, though. Like, I actually thought he was busted after the last final series.
Well...
And his AFLX and JTL form wasn't very good.
Yeah, I know, and that's a key indicator, but especially AFLX. Yeah. The only other bloke I'd like to give a little mention to is Wayne Miller. I think he's been under-mentioned.
Yes, very good. Good call.
Again, a game of two halves, though. His first half...
his first half was diabolical. 3 possessions.
His role changed, though, Macca. His role changed in the second half. I watched it again yesterday, actually. And after half time, they ran him off half back a little bit more. He was coming off half back. Yep. And his attack on the ball and his clean work below his knees. And also, he's built up a bit of core strength, because there was a few times there where he was challenged. And last year, I reckon, or the year before, when he first started, he would have been pushed off quite comfortably. But he managed to maintain his line and maintain his footing and... broke clear, and I think that's what we missed last week against Essendon.
Some of his agility in traffic was elite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So good game by Miller. And don't forget, he hasn't had much of a pre-season either.
No. As Nicky said on Sunday, he's been practicing it and training with the defence, and in particular practicing that role coming off a half-back flank. And I thought, once he did go back there after half time, he played it almost to perfection. He really and it's the hardest I've seen him go in for the ball as well.
Yeah, he straight lined every contest, Macca. It was really good to see, and maybe he's the answer. I mean, he's not probably aerially the answer for Brodie Smith, although Brodie Smith's not renowned for his aerial work, but certainly as a rebound defender, he gives us a bit of speed that we sorely lacked against Essendon. So be interesting to see whether Pipe persists with that one.
Yeah, and DSG saying on the chat he sort of built up a lot across the chest. So I'm not really a bodybuilder, so I don't know what you do for that, whether it's sit-ups or whatever, but he seems to have a bigger chest, and I agree with that. And they helped him get straight through the contest rather than sort of try and kick off from the side like a seagull. Yeah.
Well, and any sort of weight work, and Miller has obviously done some upper body work, it also helps your core, and that's, I think, where he's able to hold his line through the contest, whereas previously he probably hasn't been able to do that. So,
Other bloke really deserves a mention. I thought the seed was quite outstanding as well.
Yeah, very good game. Yep, agreed.
Yep.
There's some great performances on Thursday night. Some really good performances by lesser lights.
Yeah, exactly, Peter. That's the key. It's the Tier 2 players, or what we would call the Tier 2 players, really stood up and really were the catalyst for us going away and winning it. So good on them. Let's move on to competition. Winner takes it all, Macca. All right, tipping. Oh my freaking God!
Jeez. Tipping. What a disaster!
Tipping. Benno, whoever the hell Benno is, he got 6. He must have actually forgotten to put his tips in and got all the away teams.
That's the only way you could have got. It's the only way you could have done that.
We had Mark on 4. Megan, thanks for listening, Megan. She listens every week. Oh, I forgot Dom too, got 5. Megan got 4. Dom got 5. Valoose got 6. Merseyside Crow got... We have had a few 6s. Matt got 6. Pete Robert, which isn't... Pete Robert's not you, is it, Pete? No? Some other Pete? No, he got 6. So, of the Crowcasters, let's just talk about us for a minute. I got 2. Peter J got 2. Danos, who's an honorary Hall of Fame Crowcaster, got 2. Where are you, Peter J? You're not even in the tips.
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are. You got 2. No, it's a donkey's not in it. That's right. He's too much of a horse.
I'm in it.
Where are you?
I'm in it.
Whatever donkey to water. Oh, you got 4. You got. How did you get 4?
Well, not being as dumb as you.
Well, that's not hard. Anyway, so after 2 rounds, a tumultuous start to tipping. Benny Short is out in front with 16. I think he's got 16. I just flicked over. No, 14. Pete Robert on 13. Donkey's on 12, if you don't mind. Matt's on 12. Merseyside Crows on 12. Valoose on 12. J-Mac on 11, and then it kind of falls away. So, we've got some work to do, Pete.
Yeah, it was a pretty ordinary performance, wasn't it?
With 5
Didn't know that we got off the
2.
local team.
5 back after 2. Jesus. Yeah, no, anyway. So, it's not too late to get involved in Crowcast tipping. You can join anytime you like. If you go to AFL.com, AFLCrowcast.com, I should say, go to our competitions page. You'll see the league number there and a link to join. Now, for the bloody dream team. Sorry, I'm just trying to flick between the 2 pages here. Talk us through it, Donkey. What's going on?
Well, I think there's probably 2 in the chat to do tonight. One is to talk about the actual results and where people stand, and the other thing is to talk about when you play games like this. Are you playing with internal integrity, and you're doing the right thing by yourself and the club while you're doing it? So basically, I'm going to give a slap to anyone that didn't have Matt Crouch and is not going to suffer for the next couple of weeks like I am.
For a bloody captain, for God's sake.
No. Well, I've said a lot of things about your team, but integrity is not one of the things I've questioned publicly.
I didn't.
You're a funny man. Please continue.
I like it.
Yeah. Look, most of the league is struggling with the out of Matt Crouch, except for a few of them. Azza 77 is one of those people. There's a couple more through there, but I won't shame everybody. If we have a look, we can rank by total points, and our league's not too bad. Our league is ranked 368 out of 1,238, which I think is not too bad. Probably make it the top 30%. Somebody who's better at maths than me can correct me.
No, that's about right.
Yeah. Azza is on top with an asterisk against his name because he doesn't have Matt Crouch, so he didn't have the hampered score.
Yeah.
We've got Corey is on or One Win Wonders. Corey Oltz, he's on 4,376. In third place is the leader of the casters, Donkey's Dreamboats. on 4-3-4-8. Then we've got Sanders coming in at 4-3-3-3. And the rest are not working hard enough to get a mention on the show tonight.
It's good to see Sanders in the comp too.
Yeah, no, he's up and about, and he kind of must know what he's talking about because he's fourth. He'd be on the podium if it wasn't for some people not tipping with integrity and not having Matt Crouch. So the matchups this week, Donkeys Dreamboats start off with an easy win. It's like the season opener of the AFL. Donkeys Dreamboats are taking on the Shoe Stars. Shuey, you're no good. You're making Phoenix look good. Sanders versus Newbie Kimber. Azza versus Monkey Slappers, and I'm not sure who that is. Pete's Pirates versus DIY Bane Surgery in our fourth matchup. Skid Kids versus One Win Wonders. Coulda Beans versus the Winter March. Burachos versus Mixed Spuds. Speaking of Spuds, Big Crows Bangers or Phoenix up against Dylan Football Club. And Habanero Hot Sauce versus Sweet, the other Peter team. So I'd just like to mention that we do have two Peters in the side, but if you think you're competing against our co-host Peter, he's chosen not to participate this year.
He's declined. He's abstained.
I'll be sitting at number one if I was in there.
You know what, Macca?
Macca?
You don't get to talk about Dream Team because you're not part of it. All right, you've chosen to
in the whole competition.
Yeah, whatever.
I did ask you. I basically begged you, Macca.
Whatever, mate. I think we all did.
I actually forgot. Honestly, that's the truth. I just forgot.
Personally, I don't think I've got enough bloody trades to cover my losses at the moment. But anyway, never mind. So anyway, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, those people that listened to me the other week and started off with Jared Waby, he got a healthy 135 last weekend. And,
actually, I did see that. That's ridiculous. You were taking the piss out of everybody, and you were tipping a champion, mate.
Nah, look.
Actually, ridiculous.
The problem with picking Jared Wade, it's like playing Russian roulette, and once every 6 shots you'll get the bullet, but the other times you're in a bit of trouble. So that's not good enough for fantasy.
Well, you cracked the bullseye this week, didn't you?
Yeah, it was only going to work as a joke if you pulled one off in the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, well, that's Dream Team, and obviously the comp's closed, but for those that are in it, the real stuff starts this week. So see how we go. Just a quick bit of feedback on whether Caddy deserved a week. 100% of voters. 100% of voters. And we've got a lot of voters because we've got a lot of listeners. 100% reckons Caddy should have got a week.
Just quickly, Pete, to PJ Crows, you're absolutely not the only person that doesn't do Dream Team, mate. Absolutely not. I don't go near it. So neither does Vardy Magic.
Nah,
so we're all on the same page, boys. Right. We're all on the same page.
Let's stop boring people and get on to Macca's Sweets and Smacks.
Yes,
oh yes I am a grumpy old man. That's what I am. And I really don't care who knows it. I don't vote politicians.
You're a bastard. That music. There's a smack for you straight away, Phoenix. No, I'm actually. Well, the sweets are pretty obvious this week. Tom he's got to get the Rising Star nom. He's just got to get a sweet. I mean, and a little sweet to Nicky as well for predicting that he would do as well as he has done, and also to the two boys, Cam Millis-Yeoman and Hugh Greenwood, who are absolutely outstanding. Huey, particularly in the second quarter, and Cam Millis-Yeoman when they chipped it down the last quarter with 11 positions. That was fantastic stuff, and they definitely deserve sweets. Now, I've got a huge smack this week for that absolute ignorant pig called Tony Jones, who runs the Channel 9 Sunday football show. He and Nathan Brown, they responded to what Matthew Lloyd said, that he believed that the interstate teams were getting a very poor deal when it came to the grand finals because they were top during the year, and then when they played a Victorian team in a grand final, they ended up losing the grand final. And I think he said that's happened several years in a row. And he said, in his opinion, if a non-Victorian team finished as the minor premier, then they should host the grand final if they made it to the grand final. Immediately talked down by Tony Jones and Nathan Brown. Nathan Brown said that No, it's always been there. It's tradition. It should stay there. Of course, when he says it's always been there, it was always there in the VFL, and then that was being carried on. Tony Jones, however...
This is only supposed to be a short segment, Macca, just...
Yeah, here comes the punchline, mate. Tony Jones... There'll be one coming, another one coming your way. Tony Jones, his response was, I totally agree with you, Nathan. It should stay at the MCG. However, if Geelong are minor premiers, I do believe it should go down there to Pavilion Park. Now, absolutely, what a contradiction, you moron. So it's okay for a Victorian team to have a suburban ground, but not okay for a non-Victorian team to have a proper oval rather than that shitbag down at Geelong. So
I did see something interesting through the week, Macca. I don't know what you think of this, but I can't remember where I saw it, social media somewhere, I think, but someone was talking about that at the very least what the AFL could do is if the circumstances of last year were repeated and it was Adelaide's home grand final against Richmond, they could actually change the dimensions of the MCG in terms of how they mark the ground out. And so they could actually bring those boundaries in and actually have it as similar dimensions to what Adelaide Oval are, or Adelaide Oval is, but actually still play the game at the MCG, which would give some advantage back to Adelaide.
I think there's a few things in it, though. It's not just about ground size. I reckon they need to do something about the blend of fans going to the ground. Like, if Adelaide made the same scenario, Adelaide deserved to have 60,000 of the tickets.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Hang on. Don't just take a shit on it. Like, I put it out there for discussion.
Oh, sorry.
What do you think about the dimensions of the ground?
I think there's nothing wrong with your suggestion, and I would also think there's nothing wrong with Donkey's suggestion. I think that at the moment, the way it is played, it's played at the MCG, and if you consider that it's Richmond's home ground, and it's Melbourne's home ground, it's Collingwood's home ground, it's various other Victorian teams' home ground, they've got a massive advantage when they play a grand final there, and they've also got their own supporters, and as you say, they're used to playing on that particular ground with the dimensions of that ground. So there's merit in both of your comments. Firstly, shape it to the shape of Adelaide Oval, and secondly, in terms of the crowd, well, there should be a much vaster number of tickets available to the whoever the minor round premier was. They should get at least opportunity to get half the tickets.
I agree with that.
I think there's only one solution, and it actually probably ties in with both your suggestions, Pete and Donkey, and it will also tie into the AFL's desire for money. It's going to have to be a best of three situation, like basketball. That's the only way you're going to fix it. A team that finishes higher plays home first.
It's going to be taking 2 or 3 weeks to get it resolved.
Yep, absolutely.
You're going to take a week between games.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're going to love 3 game finals.
That's how they'll do it, because they've already stated a desire to eat into the cricket season. They've already shortened the pre-season. I think you'll find within 10 years it'll be a best of 3, because really that's the only way to solve it, and it also allows more people to get to the games. It also allows...
That's a brilliant suggestion.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way of doing it. If they want to make it some way fair, that's the only way of doing it.
What would be the kind of time you'd want in terms of how you schedule it? Would you be able to do 3 games in, say, 2 weeks, or would you have to have the 3 games in 3 weeks if needed?
I reckon you could probably do. I reckon you'd need the 3 weeks, Pete.
Yeah, for something as important as that, I think you would. And but I think that is an excellent suggestion, because they still get their game at the MCG with masses of people and the sellouts as well, and they get the additional monies that come back from the extra 2 finals as well. So
also means that Geelong can get their bloody final if they want. The only teams that are going to get quote unquote away finals at the MCG are going to be MCG tenants. So it's not going to be a disadvantage. I think it's the only way to do it.
Well, I think it is a perfect solution.
Well, they've got to do something.
Obviously, this particular cast should probably be appointed as the brains trust of the AFL.
That's long been established, Macca. I think it goes without saying.
We've groomed players to become very good players, And
any other smacks or sweets, Macca?
No, I think there was a big enough one for Tony Jones. He shitted me off that much. I thought we'd just concentrate on him. Great big left hook, bang. You're down, Tony Jones.
Now, Vardy Magic is mentioned in the chat, Meatloaf 3 weeks in a row, and he's quite, what's the word, prescient? He can see into the future as we lead into our...
Predictive?
No, that's stupid.
As
we lead into our round 3 preview with a bit of the loaf himself. And DSG said 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Oh my god.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Of course, in reference to the fact that if we beat the Saints, we go 2-1. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. What do we reckon, guys?
Well, my only comment to that is it's not the meatloaf I heard from the MCG.
No, it's about 30 years ago, that one.
No, I know. No, actually, I'd be happy if we get we should get a win, and I'll be happy once we've got it.
I think it'll be more difficult than what some people are suggesting.
Yep.
They have been whacked around the years. It's just one of those horrible, horrible games where you come up against a side that has just been woeful the week before and a Melbourne side to boot, so that you know that the Melbourne media has absolutely belted them around the years all week long.
Yeah, they've had their bloody powwow as well, Pete.
Yep. Yeah, they would have been, brought in and,
yeah,
the
they
whole
did. They were
leadership group and blah, 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 blah. And so how the whole story goes. And so there'll be a response this week. An away game at Etihad is never, ever an easy task. And so I would be hopeful that we could come away with a win, but I don't see it being an easy task whatsoever.
I mean, they're a pretty young team, St Kilda still. Do they actually have the cattle?
I don't believe they have. They've got I just think at the very, very best with the cattle they've got, they could be lurking around just below the 8, and I believe we're a better side than that. And everything Pete said is true, by the way. And if we do get rolled a little bit because we didn't take it on board enough, that this could be a possibility. And if the players, if they played with the same desperation that they did against Richmond, then I don't see any problem in winning the game at all. However, if they go in there just thinking that they will win the game, then everything that Pete predicted could possibly come true.
It'll be a mental thing if we were to lose this game. I mean, you just look at St Kilda's. I agree. If you look at St Kilda's lineup from last week, despite the fact that they should have still beaten North Melbourne, who were horrific. Their lineup doesn't send any sort of chills through you whatsoever. They don't have what you would call a star spine. Josh Bruce, Membry, Stevens, Carlisle, Nathan Brown. It's not an A grade spine if you ask me. Josh Bruce is right on his day. Jake Carlisle's okay. Nathan Brown's okay. But yeah, what have they been doing in terms of recruitment for the last 5 years?
I think we're a bit more mature around the contest. We talked about those big bodies, Bryce Gibbs as well, Rory Sloane, just a bit more mature around the contest. And I think that's probably, if we are to get them, I think that's where we will get them. I think we'll just be able to win a significant share of contested football with those big guys. I just saw a lot of work, again, not to go harp back on Hugh, but I just saw a lot of really close-in work that he did. He was amazing on Thursday night. So I just think that we can beat him at the contest. I think we can win our significant share of contested football, and that should go a long way towards it.
Yeah, I think we're looking forward to crushing someone, and I'm going to mark this down as one of the biggest wins we're going to have for the home and away season. Like, we are going to absolutely destroy these guys. Their confidence is shot. They're all young. They are all over the place. They could have responded this week and played some decent footy, but they're just nowhere at the moment, and they're going backwards. And I think we're going to take them apart piece by piece and mail them back into their coach.
You know, halfway through last season, we were talking about St Kilda as being a finals chance. You know, them and Melbourne were the teams most likely, weren't they?
Oh, and they just beaten GWS I remember that game against GWS where they beat them at Etihad.
Yep.
They looked $1 million.
Yep. What's happened to... I don't understand what's happened to them. Their personnel hasn't changed terribly much. They don't seem to have a long injury list. They took
Well, they
an
lost
unchanged...
Joey and St Nick.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
there's a lot in that. I think because it's not just the. I mean, Rewalt was a fantastic position getter, but it's also the on-field leadership as well.
Like they lost Rui and Rewalt's numbers were actually still pretty good last year. Like I remember not having him started a super coach year and going, "Oh my God, what's this bloke doing? Like he's supposed to be old." They've lost their senior leadership. So the guys they've got leading now aren't. You know, they weren't the guys they've got leading the club at the moment weren't around when they were any good.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, though, that's a failure of the staff there because Rue was on the way out for the last probably 2 to 3 years. You know, that
might be true.
You know, Jack Stevens is probably the best of that lot in terms of their leadership group. But what have they been doing? It just seems to me they've failed in developing their squad. They were looking $1 million halfway through last season, and they've just fallen off a cliff.
Well, you know, Jack Stevens is a good midfielder, and he's a very quick midfielder too. But I just watch him play. I've never actually seen him do anything on a leadership basis. I think he plays his own game and tries to set it by example. But when Nick Rewalt was playing, well, Nick he wasn't just playing; he was also guiding, leading, talking, instructing, and.
To me, that's a cop-out, Macca. I mean, I don't disagree with you that that's what's occurred, but I think if St Kilda are to hang their hat on that as the reason why they're going so badly, that's a cop-out from that club. They had ample time to restructure.
Captain, then.
Well, I don't know that their performances are way different. It's just that they were looking good and looked like they could do more, but now they're looking 10% less where we thought they could do 10% more.
No, 10%.
And I'm saying that
10%. They got pummeled by North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Well, that's not 10%.
Mate, just looking, returning the focus to us, I just want to have a quick look at our ins and outs if I can.
Yeah.
The easy one, Fiend, would be obviously Dougie back in for Matt Crouch. That's probably an easy one.
Yep, you'd think.
I think that the player, I had to think about the conversation we had last Tuesday night about number 21, and I remembered at one point looking at the game on the weekend, and our centre square setup was Greenwood, Ellis Yeoman, and Atkins. That was our centre square setup, along with Jacobs. And I couldn't help thinking that for such a second string midfield combination, the other two really seized their opportunity to have that midfield time. Rory Atkins not so much, and he was getting chances not only on the outside and the wing, but he was playing in the guts. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder where he's at. I know we talked about it last week, but you would think that surely he is getting towards the edge.
Don't see a replacement for him is probably the only saving grace, Pete.
I think you're right.
Gibson's available this week.
No, he's not. Gibson's healing slowly from that hamstring, and he won't be available for another 3.
The only other in I can see is possibly Lynch if he's fit. There's some talk about Eddie Betts possibly pinging a hamstring, unconfirmed, of course.
D-Mac going through concussion protocol as well might save him as well. Atkins.
Yeah, so those kind of things may save him, but I don't know. He just didn't seem to seize that chance that the others did on Thursday night.
No, I don't think he's out in our best 22 at the moment, Pete. On form,
no, I think you're right.
On form, you're right.
The question I guess remains, Macca, whether we've actually seen the best of him, because we've talked ad infinitum about how he cracks under pressure and how he's performed poorly in pressure games, and that little run that he had at the beginning of last season was pretty much when he was playing uncontested footy. I don't know. I've jumped off, and I don't see at the moment Rory getting enough space. He hasn't got the pace to give himself any space. I don't know. I don't think he's in our best 22. Lockie Murphy stays in for mine before Rory Atkins at the moment.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Because one of the hardest things to teach a player is courage. You can teach by perseverance and practicing. You can develop your skills and expand your skills, but it's very, very hard to get a player that essentially, not saying he's a shirker, but wants to be outside rather than inside, to get in there and earn the hard ball as well. And you can see that Jenkins, it didn't come naturally to him. He did have a very good game this week, Jenkins, and surprised everybody, I think, with the way he did it. But he even made the comment himself, it doesn't come naturally to him. And that's going to be Atkins' main downfall, I think, eventually. If he keeps playing as he is and doesn't harden up a little bit, he could find himself replaced, and some of the younger boys might just happen to take his spot.
Well, I think, Macca, the thing that gets overlooked in this conversation with Rory Atkins, and we touched on it on Sunday night, because, yes, he's not a hard player, but there are not hard players in the competition that do very well, thank you very much, but Rory Atkins lacks pace. He doesn't stride out. He takes those little dancey steps. He lacks pace in a straight line. And, without that attribute to offset the fact that he's not really winning his own ball, it makes you wonder whether he's ever going to play consistently at a high level, because he's just going to be always under pressure.
I think it's a little bit different to that. I think it's actually part of his decision-making. He doesn't, when he picks the ball up, he goes to do the same sort of thing every time, look to find that little bit of space and then move the ball on with a decent disposal. And he gets caught when he doesn't move it on fast enough. Sometimes he's got to learn that he's got to pick it up and get rid of it straight away. Like it can't be that sort of finessing what he's going to do. Sometimes he's got to get it in and get it out.
Yeah, but he's got to be able to break clear at times too, Donkey. I mean, you're right. He does seem to tie himself up in knots with, not taking the first option. But there are times where he just, like, there was a kick that he kicked up and under that Bryce Gibbs ended up marking. I think it was in the third quarter last week, where if he'd actually tucked the ball under his arm and put in 5 hard steps, he would have got around the player that was pressuring him and been able to kick the ball a lot more effectively. I mean, he was lucky that Bryce took the mark. But as it was, he ended up having to kick around his body, and it was just a silly little up and under. And that's the knock that I have on Rory, given that he is so much an outside player. He just lacks that little bit of toe like a Charlie Cameron or a Lockie Murphy or, all these other outside players that we see running around that don't get the hard ball, but they tear you up on the outside. Look at a lad like Isaac Smith for Hawthorn. I don't think I've ever seen him lay a tackle in his life, but those big long strides, and he gets himself free, and that's where he's dangerous. And that's what we need Rory to do, and I don't think he's physically capable of it.
Well, what about Gallucci? Where is he at the moment?
Playing twos.
Yeah, I mean, but no, his form I'm talking about.
I didn't see the Magpies game. Did anyone see the Magpies game last week?
No, I didn't see it.
No, got a proper touch-up, and I know that. But,
yeah. Paholke comes back in, but he's not that type of player. But aside from that, we don't really have a ready replacement for Atkins until we can shuffle Seedsman up the ground a bit. And maybe Miller is the answer eventually on Atkins' wing. Probably got more faith in Miller at the moment than Atkins, to be honest.
Has got the pace too.
But it's a good talking point, Pete, that you raise. I don't know. It's a weak spot at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
And bets with a hammy. Didn't see it happen during the game. Is that something that's come out of the dim, dark reaches?
They thought they saw him reach for it at one stage, but the club's not making any comment on that, so I don't know.
Hamstring doesn't make you drop chest marks.
Yeah. Club's pretty straightforward with injuries too, so we'd know by now.
No, you're kidding, aren't you? Bloody hell.
No one's going to even debate the hook.
That's gold.
Well, I mean, let's go around it. I think on balance, I think I lean close to where Donkey sits on this one. It should be a big win for us.
Fair enough.
I struggle to actually. I do believe we'll win the game. That's not my major worry. My major worry is if we do take it a little bit easy after the Richmond game and don't go out with the same intensity, it could be a real struggle to get up. Alternatively, it could go down the path that Donkey has predicted. I'll just say Adelaide by 36 points.
Chip Man, Donkey Magoo brought to you by Red Rock Deli.
Yeah, they've been delicious all night. Look, I think Adelaide by 64.
Pete, what do you reckon?
Adelaide 24.
Yeah, Vardy in the chat mentions that Gallucci 4 kicks and 5 handballs in that SNFL game and looked pretty ordinary.
Well, you don't earn a spot.
Yeah, mate. Look, the Gooch has been stinking it up the last few weeks. Needs to have a good hard shower and look at himself.
Yeah, I reckon Crows by plenty. 10 goals plus, I think. Let's just... sorry, go on.
I'm just going to say statistically, Phoenix, we are due for a win because our record at Etihad is I think it's about the last 12 games in a row now. Win, lose, etc. And our last game was a loss. And so if we follow the statistical trend, we'll have a win. So,
yeah.
Hey, what about Paholke? What's happened to him? I don't get to watch the local leagues. Is he any good? I thought he was supposed to be there.
He'll be right. He dropped out last week. What do he have? A hip, I think.
He had a bit of an injury. He's got some tools, Donk. I think he's very, very. I've noticed he's really, really good at getting to the fall of the ball at a stoppage. So he reads ruckman really, really well, and very, very good at getting a clearance from congestion. If that's sort of any help, but probably still a bit young to tell, I guess.
Yeah,
he does remind me. The little bit that I've seen of him, he does remind me a little bit of Matt Crouch. I think eventually he'll be a bit of an accumulator at stoppage and a clearance player.
Mm.
What about the other games? We've got Carlton and Collingwood on Friday night at the MCG. What do we think there? You getting off yet, Peter? You getting off yet, Pete?
I've got to go the pie. I've got to keep going the pies because otherwise that's going to blow up my face pretty bad. Thought they were half a chance against GWS for a while there in the last quarter. But so I'll stick with the pies.
I think this is their big chance to win a game. I'll go with the pies too.
Donk.
I'm going to go the Blues just because I like to be different.
Yeah, and for similar reasons, I'll probably go for Carlton as well. Port running hot at the moment, despite David Cockhead making a comment about our crowd again, ignoring his own banana throwers. Taking on
absolute wanker.
Taking on Brisbane at Adelaide Oval 1:15 on Saturday.
They get a tough draw, the Power, don't they?
Prime time. They might get 30,000 this week. Oh, come on. Everyone's playing footy down at the Port, Saturday afternoon. It's only the Brisbane. I reckon if they get more than 35,000, I'll actually be surprised. To be perfectly honest with
Power game to you, bought by Bunnings Tarpaulins.
I reckon the bandwagon will be up and about. They'll be up and about the bandwagon.
You reckon 32, Pete?
Yeah, I reckon maybe 32 or 33, mate. I reckon.
Well, I reckon Port, obviously, in a canter. What about you guys?
Pretty easy.
I think it's Port, and if they lost this game, they'd be the worst club in history.
Be pretty funny. Melbourne v North Melbourne. A bit hard to get a read on either of these teams at the moment. At the North Melbourne, obviously, with the rampaging Jared Waite. So we don't need to ask Donkey about that one. What about the other two guys? The Colossus.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with North. Melbourne have been absolutely unimpressive so far this year. Lost the first round against who was it? I can't remember now. Geelong, I think, and then they were horrible against Brisbane. So even though they won, I'll go with North.
I'll go with the D's, not because I think they've been overly impressive either. So I'm a little bit on Pete's side. But prior to the game where North Melbourne won last week, everybody was saying they were a mob of shit bags, and I still think they are. So I'm going to pick Melbourne.
Tell you what I'm looking forward to is I'm looking forward to North Melbourne matching up Ben Brown on Jake Lever and Ben Brown kicking 8. That'll be good.
Oh,
he will too. Yeah. How much buyer's remorse do you reckon starting to creep in at Melbourne?
It's a very good point because what's actually happened is that the clubs when they're playing against Melbourne, they're matching up on Lever and then dragging him back out of the play, back into the pockets, and he's having very little influence in games at all.
Yeah.
Oh, he's down on confidence as well. I mean, a couple of his plays in the last quarter against Brisbane were just diabolical, just fumbling and just balls getting past him, and he looked very, very down on confidence.
Yeah, well, he hasn't got an A-grade bloody defence around him, has he?
No, the boy from Romsey in Victoria is struggling.
Yeah, good on you, BT.
If you go have a look at the old West Lakes Journal, they've given Lever a bit of a touch-up again as well for those playing at home. I put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So it's very comical. And you know what? I don't want Lever to go down with the injury. I want Melbourne to suffer through every one of his games when they have to watch him be accountable.
Yeah. Well, I want to see how long it takes for his old man to start piping up the good he's not playing him in the right position, or the bloody club's shit, or something or other. It'll blow up. You guarantee it. It will never be Jake's fault in his old man's eyes.
No, you're right there.
Anyway,
yeah.
Gold Coast Suns v Fremantle at where the hell is that? Optus Stadium. Yeah, Optus Stadium. I can't get used to OS yet. That's Perth. That's a new one.
Yeah. This is a strange situation because it's listed as Gold Coast home game.
Yeah.
And they're playing it in Perth.
Yeah, it's because of the Commonwealth Games, mate. They don't get home games.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Got a funny feeling. The Suns will win a few this year. They just seem to be up and about. So I'm going to stick with the Suns, even though it's in Perth.
Because it is in Perth, I'll go with Freo.
Donk.
I'm going to go the Suns as well, I think.
Yeah, probably not good enough yet to do the WA trip, I don't reckon. I'm with you, Pete. I reckon there's sneaky improvers this year, Gold Coast.
And Jared, and big credit to Jared Lyons for stepping up as far as he has since he's been at the Gold Coast. Each year he's just stepped up a little bit further, and he had 38, 39 possessions.
Reverse buyer's remorse on that one. That was the best bloody pick 38 or whatever the hell they paid.
Tell you what, I feel sorry for the Gold Coast team manager, who's obviously has been a double booking at Metricon. How many phone calls do you reckon he had to make before he eventually got a free ground in Perth?
Yeah, that's right. Poor bugger.
I heard an interview with a Gold Coast bloke, probably either full-time or half-time last week, and it talked about how they were more focused on playing inside footy rather than that sort of the seagull outside game that they were probably used to.
That Gary Ablett used to play.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, the Port style where you don't really go in for a hard ball, you wait for people to flick it out and you run fast, like that sort of thing. So I think Gold Coast are going to be a lot harder to beat. Whether they get the win or not, they said they want the opposition to come up with bruises. So
I reckon they'll be a lot more united.
Yeah.
And close group without Gary Ablett being there.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll be better off without him.
Even with the prayer circle gone?
Yeah.
Even with the prayer circle gone.
I reckon Freo. Swans versus Giants, the old Sydney Derby, whatever, at the SCG on Saturday night. Should be a good game, I reckon.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Giants.
I'm going to go with the Giants too. And I know that I looked at the odds, and Sydney well and truly favourites, but gee, to get beaten by Port as they did on their home deck.
Bitterly disappointing, Sydney. We're bitterly disappointing.
I don't reckon Sydney got the tools for the Giants, to be honest. I don't reckon they match up very well at all. I reckon the Giants will smack them. We've done us. We've got Richmond versus Hawthorn. Should be an interesting game as well. The Hawks weren't bad against Geelong.
Yeah,
on
stick with
Sunday
the Hawks,
afternoon.
Hawks.
Yeah, they're on a roll.
I'm going with the Hawks too.
Richmond bounced back on this one.
Richmond soft as butter.
No,
No,
Richmond have had their day in the sun, and now it's going to be all downhill all the way.
Yeah, I agree with Macca.
Oh, 3-1 on that
They got
one.
Hartleage problems.
Okay, Eagles v the Cats over there in Perth.
Horribly, the Cats, but I'd love to think that it would be the other way around. But although the Eagles did surprise me, they played very, very well this week, and they do have a young excitement machine, a young Liam Ryan. By God, did you see some of that boy's legs?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with the Cats because I think that West Coast aren't that good. I just think the Dogs are incredibly bad.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the old wet toast were okay against Sydney, and I think that I want to tip them, but I think that is probably too hard to tip against Geelong. But I don't think Geelong travel very well. Yeah,
Cats comfortably. Scott Selwood back in, so that adds just another bloody midfielder to that team. So I reckon they'll do it in a canter. And finally, the Bulldogs versus Essendon doing the graveyard Sunday afternoon shift.
Well, my dreams have come true, and Bulldogs have turned to crap, and so because I do hate their coach. No, Essendon, I absolutely despise him.
Tell us more about that, Macca.
Yeah, well, they've lost Jack Trengrover now too.
Yes, he's out for quite a few weeks.
So, I mean, they're pretty much stuffed.
I just think the morale's gone out of the club. I don't know what has happened for that to happen, but they don't appear to be that united club that they used to be.
I was listening to, I think it was Bob Murphy said something the other day. Sorry, Don.
Right.
And he was saying, the premiership for the Western Bulldogs was more than just winning a flag. It was, a cultural event down there. So, well, shit, you got to be a bit better than that. You got to be able to bounce back. But I just think that they are so satisfied and so overjoyed to have won a flag down there that I don't think they could give a stuff. I think they're going to have to turn that list over.
Well,
I think you're right.
And also, I just don't think that Luke Beveridge is a strong enough leader or has the mental capacity to be able to deal with a different challenge on a group. It's one thing to lead people in a siege when they're under attack the first time and you're leading a raid, an unprotected raid, but there's another thing holding the fort. And I think Luke Beveridge's comments and actions over the last couple of years have just shown that he doesn't have the capacity as a human being to be able to lead that club back to glory.
I agree with you. Very counterproductive to what you would expect from a coach in his situation.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I reckon the list is probably not too bad. They need to cut the coach.
I don't. I think the list is well and truly pleased with their efforts. I think there's probably half a dozen there that probably need to be rolled over. If I was them, I'd probably look at getting rid of one of their big players. I know they got rid of Stringer last year, and Liberatore looks to be down for a while, but I think they've got to turn it over. And they just don't have enough quality tall players, in my view.
Yeah. Well, also, Johannesson was never really that good. And he didn't deserve his brown load. Should have been Tom Boyd's, and he's an inefficient kicker, and they should have traded him away. Maybe they need to rebuild, collapse it now, bring it back to Coalhouse, Bont, and a couple of others, and then go again.
Yeah, don't disagree. All right, that probably wraps up our little round 3 preview. So we're drawing to a close, but of course, the last segment that we have is our Game of Crows. And I think I've made it too easy. Sorry, who was saying?
I'm going to say I'm about to bail, mate, but I just wanted to hang on just to say what a great call last week to pick Tom Dide. What did he have? About 94% disposal efficiency or something like that. Yeah. I think he got 3 points. Got
Ripper.
3 points.
Yeah, it was
a ripper. Rip snorter.
Well done, Pete.
Yeah, well done, Pete. One. What is it? One summer doesn't make us. What is it? One swallow doesn't make a summer, or some rubbish. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah. But anyway,
about my ex-wife.
On that note, I'll catch you next week. Unbelievable.
Anyway, yes, Tommy D-Day did actually get 3. And quite a few people picked Tommy. And who got 2? Because no one actually picked the bloke who would have given him 2 points.
I picked Laird. I don't know where we
Lairdy was no good. Jake Kelly got the 1. I can't remember who got the 2, but anyway, no one picked him, so it doesn't matter. So after 2 rounds, we have Toby Smith on top with 5. Now, contentious here, we've got Scorpus on 4 with Vardy Magic. Now, Scorpus, if you're listening, mate, it's your competition. I'm not sure whether we can actually allow you to be there, but anyway.
He puts his votes in after the game for the game.
No, I'm very careful about that. And the points table and each round's points are posted on AFL.crowcast.com every week if you have a look. I know. Matt Britton, Steve Loeffler, Scott Sullivan, Dan J-Mac, Valoose, Captain Emads, Buckets Najinski, Steve McCrow, Corey Wade. I wish I'd looked at the numbers before I started reading this out. Peter J and Dogs 105 all on 3, and then the rest of us, including yours truly and Donkey. You didn't even put yours in last week.
Well, I normally do it from the cast, and
I thought that was from.
And I'm pretty sure I picked Doty.
Well, I'll have to go back and check. I'm happy to include you if that's the case.
Oh, look, there's probably no evidence of it, but spiritually I picked Doty. Well, I didn't even know we were picking.
Considering the cast is recorded and available on demand, there probably is evidence. I'll just have to go back and listen to it.
I wasn't on last week. What was the what was even the question for last week?
Disposal efficiency.
Yeah, I would have picked Doty.
No, sorry, mate, you're out. We had a few. We actually had a couple on the leaderboard. Scott Sullivan forgot. Houston, Ben McLean.
Well, maybe this game's a bit of a game of attrition. That's Game of Thrones. 7 seasons in.
That's true. Because of the way the points are calculated this year, though, just because you missed out a round doesn't mean anything. You've got plenty of opportunities to bounce up the leaderboard. Now, this week, I'm actually, because it's going to be, in my opinion, and also Donkey's, a bit of a goal fest. I'm going to make it an easy one, but not quite as easy as it could be. Rather than the leading goal scorer, I'm actually going to ask for the leading point scorer. So the overall goals and points. So 2 goals 2 beats 2 goals 1, if you understand what I mean. So the leading overall total points for the Adelaide Crows for St Kilda. Any thoughts, guys?
Just the Crows players, yeah?
Just the Crows players, yes.
I might go Jenkins.
Jenkins for you, Macca? 2 weeks in a row.
I know.
That's the height of optimism, mate.
They say lightning doesn't strike twice. We'll just see what it does.
Yeah. Donk?
Texan?
Yeah. I'm going to go... Oh, shit. Who am I going to go? I actually wouldn't have a bloody clue, to be honest with you. Now I made up the bloody Jake Kelly, yeah. I'm going to go with he might not play. Mitch McGovern. Just for something different. Mitch McGovern. Fast deck, clean hands, roof closed. 8 goals, Mitch McGovern. Breakout game. There we go.
About time.
Yeah, it would be about time.
His timing's off. He's out of whack by half a second.
He is too. I don't know what's going on. He knows it too.
One day he's going to rip it apart. Yeah, but it's only a little bit. Like, it's literally only a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, gentlemen, thanks very much for sticking with us, those in the cast and those in the chat, I should say, and those listening to us via Spreaker. Don't forget to hit us up on Facebook and Twitter, AFLCrowcast.com. If you're listening on iTunes, it'd be great to get a review just to help our ranking. And we'll see you next week.
Yep,
see you
good
guys.
night, all.
Night.